You're part of a group that wrote a letter to the governor last week. In it, you said we propose, and you're talking about how to get COVID-19 under control. You, as one of more than 150 physicians who are also mothers, wrote, "We propose as a necessary first step that bars, gyms, and other non-essential services for adults must be closed." You wrote that letter on August 4th, and Governor Brown hasn't yet closed indoor spaces. So, what are you going to do about that?
Two different things going on right now. One is, all from the point of view of being a physician and a pediatrician, which I think gives me special insight into the importance of opening up schools. Although I'm sure every physician you would talk to agrees that we want to do everything we can to open schools. And I think a lot of us have been saying for a while, close the bar so we can open up the schools. So, in terms of what we're going to do about that, I think I would definitely like to hear what the plans are for getting the numbers down to the numbers that we must be at in order to reopen the schools.
So, I guess I want to ask you about the new coalition that you're part of with some labor groups and with physicians. Those are groups that have both large numbers. Those are labor groups. They have political influence, and the physicians among you have both the technical and scientific and medical expertise, and also sort of the moral high ground. So that's a powerful coalition. I'm wondering, how are you going to move the needle? What can you do that will compel the governor? Maybe force is the wrong word, to take stronger, more decisive action.
Thank you. I'm not sure I have a great answer for that yet. This is our opening salvo last week, was to present our concerns to the governor and our thoughts on moves that she or Oregon Health Authority can take. I am, eager to talk to the people who are making these decisions about how they anticipate moving forward to lower our numbers. And if nothing does change, I will be meeting with my coalition. We'll talk about other ways we feel we might be able to have influence. But I will say that one of the goals here is to give the governor, give the Oregon Health Authority the perspective of the people who are on the front lines. Right, I'm seeing patients every day. I'm currently, planning on answering a phone call for someone whose daycare provider just tested positive for COVID, and how they're navigating that in this situation. We're on the front lines. We are seeing that we do not have adequate access to testing. We are seeing PPE in scarcity. And we're seeing that the contact tracing system has not been as robust as we need it to be to really slow down the cases. So we, as frontline workers, whether it's nurses, physicians, the grocers, our experience is that we're not seeing the results that we would like to see on the ground. And we want to give the governor and OHA that perspective, as well as kind of the strength in numbers to do even more to try to lower the cases of COVID in our community.
So the Johns Hopkins COVID project has provided a way to compare Oregon to other states for months now, and I and other reporters have written about Oregon's perennially low rating. I looked at it again this morning before this call, and only Wyoming definitively has a lower rate of testing than we do. There are other states that are comparable, not many. The governor initially blamed that on the Trump administration, but it's been months and months now, and our position really hasn't changed. Why hasn't it changed? Why are we not able to test more people?
It's been hard to get a straight answer on that, and thank you for that perspective. And yes, absolutely, the genesis here has been the federal incompetence, if not downright negligence. And I keep saying it's a yes and, right? We can't just talk about, well, the federal government really messed up, and so we don't have adequate testing. Yes, the federal government has messed up, and we need to figure out a way to test better. It's been very hard for me to understand why it's been so difficult for Oregon to have more robust testing than we do, or to have less, I call it less friction around the situation of getting testing. I have friends who are pediatricians in other states where it's going much more smoothly than it is here. And I hear little things like, oh, we don't have enough cotton swabs, or the machinery is only set to do 100 tests a day. And we're asking it to 1,000 tests a day. And I just think we need to find solutions to those problems.
Is there a lack of urgency in your mind in terms of the response, either from the governor herself, or from the Oregon Health Authority, or from the county health authorities?
I don't know if I would say a lack of urgency, but there's not great explanations on what we're going to do to make this better. And when I just have my pediatrician hat on, not my policy hat, which I care a lot about too, I don't receive a whole lot of communication from the state about where we are on testing and how we're going to solve the problems. I'm continually asking the nurse in my clinic every day, so where are we today? Is the OHSU drive-through testing? Who are they taking today? Who are they accepting today? The OHSU drive-through testing, which is awesome, has to calibrate who and what they can test. I should say what insurance they can test, based on, my understanding is based on their supply. And that's not the way we should be making decisions on who, our public health response to COVID. So I think lack of urgency makes it sound like it's a willful thing. I just feel like there hasn't been incredibly swift, strong problem solving around some of the basic public health failures that we're seeing here in Oregon. And we just want to encourage the governor and OHA to do more and to do it quickly. And again, I think my North Star right now, it's changed a little bit, but my North Star right now is I really want these schools to be able to open. I know how much my patients need it socially, academically, and we're just going to see worsening of the achievement gap. So I think lack of urgency sounds a little too willful. I just feel like there hasn't been super strong problem solving around the pitfalls that we're experiencing here.
So there was a story in the New York Times last week about what happened in Israel when Israel reopened its schools in May, and by that time the country had gotten its rate of new cases down to double digits per day. And when they went back to school, there was an explosion, and it was because it was hot and ventilation was poor, and a lot of their school buildings are even more crowded than ours in Oregon are. I wonder. I understand the goal that you and your colleagues have of getting kids back to school as quickly as possible, but prior to our having a vaccine, do you worry that bringing a large number of people, even if they're young, healthy people, together in an indoor space is just sort of setting up for super spreader events?
Absolutely. And I think that, some of the plans that we saw coming down when we thought there'd be a chance that schools would be opening in the fall included kind of splitting the school in half so there'd be half the number of kids in a building on any given day. And I think that would help with that. But I think it really comes down to if we can really lower the background cases of COVID, then the chance of a child coming to school shedding COVID goes way down. I think it would be, ideally we would have rapid tests that we do frequently on every school kid. I think it's going to be a while till we're there, but absolutely school, no matter what, school's going to carry a risk. It's what can we do to mitigate that risk so we can balance the risk benefit. And there'll be some kids who probably really can't go back to school because of their own personal health risks until we have a vaccine. But pre-vaccine, I think there's a way we can go back to school with a tolerable amount of risk. It's never going to be zero.